Welcome back. This is one of the sessions which are the side sessions, not part of the curriculum or the course, but more important because we are going to go and talk to people of their real experiences, what it really takes to make things. So here is Raj, Aparajito Basu and Boshu, I don't know how you pronounce it, but Boshu, Aparajito Boshu. And the main thing is why I want him to be one of the first people I talk to is, he's gone the whole hog. He entered the startup industry when it was at its nascency, has worked and led some of the biggest names, failed, restarted, sold off, plethora of experiences, and essentially has a very interesting life. So I'll let Raj do the talking. Whenever I feel that I should question him on your behalf, I'll do the same, but it will basically be his talk to you as to what are the things that you should expect, what are the things which will come as a surprise, and what are the things which is a known unknown. Raj, over to you.
Thank you, Sandipan. So, hello everyone. My name is Aparajito Boshu, but my friends and like Sandipan call me Raj. I wanted to talk a little bit about my background, just to sort of bring you up to speed on a little bit about me. My journey with startups actually started around 10 years back, actually 11 years back now, how time flies, with Zomato. I was asked to launch their app in their first market outside of India, which was UAE. I was their first salesman and marketing manager that they hired in Abu Dhabi. So my family at the time was based in Abu Dhabi, so I knew the local market a little bit well. But at the same time, I had never worked at a startup before, and I had given up a glamorous banking job in London because I wasn't very comfortable with the slow speed of the corporate culture in London.
So I'll take a pause here, Raj.
Sure.
I think it will make sense if you tell them how your education was,
where
you studied.
Sure.
So I know you're shy about those things, but it's important to tell those things.
Sure. Yeah. So my family, my father had a transferable job, so he moved around quite a lot. Since the age of 11, I've lived away from my family. I went to boarding school in India, in Rishi Valley, and then I got a scholarship after I won a National Science Olympiad in India to go to England and study maths and science over there. I finished my schooling in England on that scholarship, and then I got a scholarship to go to Oxford to do a course in mathematics, and finally I did my graduation from Manchester in economics. All of which I thought was lining me up perfectly for a career in finance, because that's what I initially wanted to do. But then I realized that a lot of my friends who were working in startups right since the college days were having a lot of fun, and I was part of the entrepreneurship
and fun, but not really making the mullahs, because that was not the age.
Right.
So that is very important to tell, because today it's so colored with money.
Yeah.
The fact that you did for a non-money reason is very important to tell, and why that paid off.
Exactly. So I think a lot of because all we see in the news these days, and I'm sure you'll agree, is the main funding news or the shutdown news, and that's all that is covered. But there's actually a lot of exciting things that happen during startups. I'll give you an example. There's no headline ever that says today was a startup exciting day, or today was an exciting day at a startup. That's not a headline at all, but actually every single day is like that. Some days it's fun exciting, some days it's scary exciting, but there's always lots of things going on. What we did was we incubated around 4 startups at the Manchester University Entrepreneurship Society, and all of them got into world-class incubators, like Y Combinator and 500 startups and so on. So then I thought, if my friends are doing this, then maybe I can do that too. So at the time I was working in a large bank in London, but then I realized that it was far more exciting, and also I wanted to be in a fast-moving market, in a fast-moving industry, and then in a fast-moving geography. So then I picked Asia, I picked tech, and specifically I picked Zomato, because for me at the time it was very clear that it was a fast-moving startup. In fact, I joined them even before Sequoia funded them for the first time. So I joined them in the summer of 2013, and then later on in the winter they got funded by Sequoia for 37 million.
Correct. Yeah.
Which then created a really exciting time, because we pretty much expanded to 10, within 10 months we expanded to 20 countries, and that's a feat that not many startups have achieved in India before that or since then. So that was an intense result of us actually going out, pounding the pavement, meeting as many people from the restaurant industry as possible.
Please do talk about those things. The fact that how you went about, what it really takes. You are leading the position here. but the fact that you are on the street, I think those are very important lessons to give, because everyone has a very glamorous idea of a cushy office with a great looking monitor, but the reality is far from that.
Exactly. So I think I'll start off with the main thing is that we started off even without an office, but not remote work, if that's what you're thinking. We actually rented out a small hotel room where we stayed in the living rooms and did our little team calls and all. But then the overall team meetings used to happen, and the strategy meetings used to happen in the living room of that hotel suite. And that was our first office, if you will, until we actually sold enough advertising. And that time Zomato was not doing online ordering, so it was mainly a restaurant discovery and restaurant search website, restaurant listings website. Thank you. And what we had to do was we actually went and pounded the pavement. If you can imagine in the summer, in the heat of Dubai and Abu Dhabi, where it goes frequently over 40-45 degrees Celsius, as a team we went and visited over 1,500 restaurants in person, and this was right from the city managers to the marketing managers to the content managers. Everybody went.
I'll ask a very important question, because it's important for them. You were in the driving seat.
Right.
These people are reporting to you.
Right.
How many did you personally go to?
I personally visited easily over 300 restaurants personally.
So 1/5 of the load.
Yeah. And in fact, we would actually try and make a little bit of a game out of it, where we would of course do our own individual visits, where we would try and get insights, but then at the same time just gathering basic information, what we used to call data drives or rallies, and we would go as a group during weekends and try and cover as much ground as possible. We would hit a shopping mall and then try and.
So you found a tactics onto that.
Exactly.
Cut to the chase today. You have gone through a lot of things. Just tell how many in numbers and some of the highlights and all, because if we talk, we'll go on for 2 days and probably, but it's important to go a to and fro part of it, and then probably come back to some of the highlights and some of the lessons you have learned, some of the mistakes you made, which you don't want them to repeat, and make it into a thing. So if today you are closer to them than I am, much closer, right? And not even the midway, you're quite near to them. 2013 start and all, we are ancient in that. What is it that you will tell them? What things have changed? What things haven't changed? What's your perception of that? Just tell them.
Absolutely, sure. So I think just from a consumer and a user standpoint, the main thing that has changed is we were initially designing a lot of the systems and the information and the UI for laptops and for users that were maybe laptop first or PC first. Now it's come down to mobile, and it's not just having a mobile app and having a web app for laptop, but it's actually the mobile is the primary and often only computing device. So when we talk about technology companies and technology startups, it's about understanding that there are different revolutions and different patterns, and these patterns can change.
Do you think this is applicable both for the business user and the consumer? Is the business decisions also being done on the mobile, or it's horses for courses, and people should be aware of if it's a consumer product, yes, but if it's a business product, sometimes the information load is too much, can't fit into mobile, and they're expected to work out of office. So how do people make heuristic use of them? I'm sure both of us will agree there's no one silver bullet.
Absolutely.
But what are the ways and trends to spot them and look at it?
Sure. So I think this raises the very interesting point of user cohorts, right? Which is basically segmenting the entire user segment, understanding it's not so homogeneous, understanding that it's heterogeneous. I'll give you an example. When we talk about a B2B enterprise SaaS play, right? The key decision maker, who may be the CEO, right, might be always on the move, even flying around or going from meeting to meeting, where they may not have the luxury of having their laptop or PC open at all times. They may need to make quick decisions at a glance. So for that, the mobile app is very important, but not necessarily for data entry. When we're talking about the actual managers and the data analysts at the same company who are using it, they may have the comfort of their laptop or their PC, where they're actually doing the data entry and where they're creating reports and all to be sent. So that then allows us to create different horses for courses, as you said, create different user experiences for different kinds of user cohorts.
Got it. Please carry on.
Sure.
I interjected because it was a vital point. It actually is very nice because it's a continuation from what I was teaching just in that part, and it's important.
So I think one thing I realized at Zomato is that I had struck lightning in a bottle on my very first attempt. It's very rare that the first startup that you ever join becomes a $10-20 billion startup and then does so well. And in fact, you end up launching them the first market outside India, and then everybody comes in, looks at your experiences. I had this habit, by the way, which I still have, and I think I've worked with Sandipan for a few years now, and he'll also to it, is that I document everything. I write down everything. So I used to just write down all of my experiences, and one good thing that helped us was that as and when Zomato launched in new countries, we figured out patterns. So there were different segments, there were different types of clients, there were different types of restaurants, and and then if we created buckets, and we realized that while the same cuisine might not map from country to country, the type of customer can map from country to country, which then allowed, as to your point earlier, the next team that say went and launched Zomato in a Johannesburg or in a Rio de Janeiro or in Auckland or in a Sydney to then avoid making the basic mistakes and quickly use those notes to go ahead and capture that market really fast.
So let's tell us about your own experiences when you did your own startup.
So like I said, I realized that I caught lightning in a bottle, and only maybe 1 in 10,000 startups becomes such a big success like Zomato. So I decided to go out and understand the actual process of it. I spent some time at Lightbox Ventures with their EIR, and I spent and I worked at Mumbai Angels, where I was promoted from analyst to running the entire Mumbai deal team. Mumbai Angels is an angel network that has funded India's first software unicorn called InMobi, and also many recent ones like Purple. When I was there, I sourced a lot of deals, the most successful of which was a marketing automation company, a B2B SaaS company called Beta Out, that was acquired by Bluecore. So I tasted a little bit of success in that investing field also. And then I felt like I had enough knowledge from both sides of the table, so to speak, as a founder, as an entrepreneur, and as an investor to start off my own ventures. I started a couple of them. One failed and one succeeded. I can tell you about both. The first one was a company called Number, which basically just was like a Zomato Pro or a Swiggy One kind of loyalty membership before these kind of products. So these kind of products actually came into the market around 2017-18. We were doing this in 2014-15. And like I said, we had a lot of insights from, when I say we, I mean me and my co-founder. There were just two of us. He was in the tech team at Zomato, and like I said, I was in the global international markets team. We left Zomato to start, and then we connected up again. When it came to Number, we realized that we had a lot of insights about, repeat customers and who are not getting a differentiated experience. And what was really important for us was actually creating a very differentiated experience, but then at the same time as low friction as possible. We didn't want them to just download another app, so we gave each restaurant or each merchant a pad, like an iPad or a tablet computer, where we had all of our software hard coded, and whenever the user would come in, they would just give their phone number, and automatically all of the data would populate.
Correct.
And then we would give them it was connected to the point of sale, so that if Sandipan likes going to Blue Tokai, for example, and ordering the mocha, then the next time he comes in, then the server can actually
it's personalized to a large.
Exactly, it's personalized, and they can see, and they can actually give you a discount on the mocha.
So what went wrong, or did it succeed?
So it actually succeeded, and we got bought out by a competitor, which then filled us with even more confidence. So I think that was a very good and happy journey for us. But one thing that it led us to sort of stretch ourselves is we then tried to create a B2B platform for businesses called One Lease, where they could go out and lease out any office. It was sort of like a WeWork, but imagine of it. Think of One Lease as a network of offices, of single offices, rather than one building like a WeWork or an Innovate. So there actually we got a lot of. It was very funny for us because WeWork was actually becoming popular in India. A couple of competitors had gotten funding, so we were actually funded, and we got into a couple of incubators. We even made it to the final round of Y Combinator, where they flew us out to Mountain View, and that was a great ride. But what we realized is that the timing was not right. The market was not ready for that. Everybody wanted a large office where all the different teams could work together, and the product also has, the service also had built-in churn. Now that basically means that if we are successful, then we become unsuccessful. If we are actually able to give each startup a different office, then naturally each startup will grow big, and then they'll move out to a big building or something like that. So that's when we had to shut down that company, and then I worked with a couple of startups. The leadership position was with a company called CreditMate that was recently acquired by Paytm. And then Sandipan and I had been talking throughout these years, and as always, he had been invaluable as a mentor and as a guide because of all of his knowledge about building local listings businesses in India like Just Dial. And we used to catch up now and then, and eventually after all of these adventures, I joined Sandipan over at Zen.
So, Raj, what I'm more interested is in the personal journey, the resilience, the learning ability, and this is something that they have to hone at a much faster pace. You got a break in almost a new world, and they have to make in a very busy world.
Right.
Things have changed. You didn't have a Gen AI, you didn't have a ChatGPT, you didn't have a lot of things. So, if you were born today with the mindset that you have, how do you recalibrate yourself and how would you go ahead? And also do share the kind of problems, and we all have our own stories, but something to tell them not to stop despite how you go on. I think those are the things I respect you most for, and that's something that I wanted to share with them.
Absolutely, thank you. So Sandipan, I would say that while a lot of new technologies have come in like generative AI, a few things have still stayed the same. So what I would really recommend for the next generation of entrepreneurs to do is to look at what they're really passionate about and what they can do day in and day out that doesn't take energy out from them, because that's how you get burnout, and that's something that I look out for the most as an entrepreneur or as an intrapreneur, just as a colleague also in my other colleagues. What am I doing that is fueling me with energy? Because then I can just keep doing that day in and day out. There's no monotony that sets in.
Correct.
Right? So what if, to your point, if I was starting over today, because there's so much information out there, I would try and look at what is a day in the life look like of this career path that I want to choose, or of this person that I want to be like. I'll give you a quick example of that. One thing that we had a conversation, I remember very clearly at your Zelp office in Kormangla, Bangalore, lots of years back, when I was just thinking about Onelease and setting it up, and you mentioned, you'll have to think about all the different ways in which Indian real estate clients are very picky about things like Vastu and all. And I realized that that's not something I wanted to spend a lot of my energy on throughout the day. I didn't want to spend my time dealing with real estate brokers and on the supply side, because that's not something that gave me joy, or that's not something that excited me as much as going and talking to different people about what foods they like to eat, or how they shop for food, or how they go on these dining experiences. So that's when I realized that maybe I was the right founder, but in the wrong market. And that just like we talk a lot about minimum viable product and product market fit, I believe there's also founder market fit.
And founder product fit also.
Exactly, and the founder product fit, absolutely. And so I would, urge the next generation founders to go and look for that, because that's how they'll find these little sweet spots. And that's something that nobody can take away from them. That's something that even a copycat won't have, because the copycat just won't be that passionate about them.
It's possible, but it's the first mover advantage.
Exactly.
But that said, we do end up making mistakes.
Right.
We end up in the wrong places, we end up with the wrong ventures, wrong timings, all of this. How do you pick yourself up and go for the next one?
So
what is that happens?
Yeah, so I think the main story in my life is, and you keep saying it, is that there are only two choices. Either we learn or we succeed. Right?
Correct.
And this comes not so much from a very sort of flashy or a media bite-sized thing. It comes actually from science, in the pure scientific research way of thinking about it, right? Just think of these as experiments that we're doing, and what we're trying to find is not just the final experiment that works, but actually something that we can scale and grow over and over again.
Correct.
So what I'm really looking for are actual growth strategies, of course for myself, but also for the business and my understanding of different businesses. Because what happens then is that as I do this month on month, year on year, decade on decade, my gut instinct gets refined. So that as soon as I have a personal question, or maybe if I have an insight, hey, why is no one going into this market? And then I can see, okay, fine, the OPEX cost is very high, or the CAPEX initial investment that of capital expenditure that's required by this industry is very high. So that's how, you know, I would say that I've evolved and I've changed and I've grown despite having setbacks and failures.
Perfect. Any last words for these people? Make it in 3 sentences. What are the 3 most important sentences you will tell to future generations? I'm putting you on a spot here, but just I know you will come out bouncing on that.
So the first thing I would 100% say is surround yourself with the right people. I consider myself extraordinarily fortunate that I found Sandipan completely through the right people, and that we've had a relationship that I cherish, of one where I think I learn most of the time, but he said that he learns a few times, and we both learn together from our joint experiences. So the first thing is 100% the people. The second thing is finding some part of the process that is very passion driven about us. So for me, that's always, you know, doing user research, doing product design, and then doing product growth and growing the company and the product as much as possible. So the first one is finding the right people. The second one is finding the right passion where we can fit in. And the third one, 100% I would say, is have fun, right? Startups and entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial skills is the only industry I feel where we can actually have a legitimate, logical excuse for having fun, because it recharges us and it allows us not to burn out, and it, you know, helps us see things from different perspectives. And most importantly, who knows, you could make really, really good lifelong friends with your colleagues, like the relationship we have.
I just want to clarify one thing from my perspective. When we say fun, we don't mean partying and showing we are having fun, but actually having joy.
Exactly.
Enjoying is a key part of an entrepreneur's life, and I'm saying it on behalf of Raj. I see that he flourishes most when he's having that, not sure of success, but very close to it, that doubting and testing yourself, and that's the real enjoyment. It's not about going out and partying and earning so much that you can give a party to all your friends. Those are okay. Those are superficial things at the end of the day. The key is, unless you're having fun, unless you're meant for it, it's better to stop, take stock, and rejuvenate yourself, or take a different path. I think that's the first of the sessions we are having. I took someone close to me because I believe in that, and I thought there's a lot to learn from Raj. We'll carry on these sessions which are on the side. Look at them at your leisure. Don't look at them, doesn't matter. But if you do, you will learn something much, much beyond all the reading lists and the lesson plans we do. Second only to doing it yourself. Doing it yourself is the most important. Thank you so much.
Thank you.